Goes a little something like this. WrestleMania night number 1. My ass wanted to give up. Then night number 2 came and this show was a giant clusterfuck. I'ma criticize Vince McMahon and the WWE how I like. Because when it all is said and done, you know that I am fucking right. I love the people that will sit here and say that I can't criticize the product. Because at least they did it. They chose to go on with this product. Nobody said they had to. Actually, everybody was trying to prevent them from doing so, but they still did it. WrestleMania 36, regardless of whatever anybody tells you, was a giant cluster shit. It was not the worst thing I've ever seen because there were actually quite a lot of hidden gems throughout the show. I don't know how long this will be, but I'm going to review the entire show from start to finish. Stay right here, go nowhere else. Back on the YouTube channel, Nick's World. Subscribe, like, do everything that you need to do to get this out there. Because this right here is going to be your WrestleMania 36 review that pulls no punches. We're going to go over the complete show in detail. WrestleMania, as we all know, was given into 2 different nights. And again, that was to minimize the amount of people in one location. And it being pre-recorded was the fact that everybody didn't have to be there at once. Now, I feel like when you look at this show from a grand standpoint, it's a WrestleMania you'll never forget. I don't know if that's for all the right reasons. There were certain things inside of this WrestleMania show that I thought were really, really good. And there were a lot of things that just really awkward booking decisions that didn't really make sense. One of them is Charlotte winning the NXT Women's Championship. I didn't really agree with that. And my friend made a point out, and I definitely understand his point because it does make sense. From his standpoint, was that it was to have Charlotte on NXT to try to beat AEW in ratings. But again, there was no need for someone like Rhea Ripley, who is starting to be built up, to not retain her title. That is what I didn't get, and that is what I didn't really understand either. The Becky and Shayna match was complete garbage. And that was one of the matches I was looking forward to more so on the WrestleMania card. That was night number 1. But we're going to review this show. We probably should get right into it because, again, there's no telling how long this review is actually going to be. I'm not going to review the kickoff show, but for those of you that do want to know, Cesaro did beat Drew Gulak in a match to start night 1 of the kickoff show. But the WrestleMania, full WrestleMania, opened up with a match that should not have opened up the show. I felt like, there was no crowd, so it didn't matter as much, but I feel like, especially with a show like WrestleMania, you need to open up with something very hot. A lot of times, we've seen WrestleManias in the past that open up with a ladder match. We've had the Intercontinental title ladder match. Remember when Daniel Bryan won the title? I think that was 31, if I'm correct. We've just seen different things, how important it is to open up a WrestleMania, because the first half of night number 1, to me, was just not good. It was not good, and I felt like if you eliminated it, this show would be a lot better. The first match was the women's tag team titles between the Kabuki Warriors and Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Now, it was one of those things that we all had to get used to, not having a crowd, because the Raw and SmackDowns, or the episodes of Raw and the episodes of SmackDown that led up to WrestleMania, we didn't really take those serious, but WrestleMania was their first real show that we needed to take serious, that they were presenting in front of no crowd. And this match, and again, every match was the same because of the crowd aspect of it, but this match felt like it was going to set the cornerstone for what was going to be absolutely terrible the whole night. They needed crowd, and I thought that they should have piped somebody in, or just people in the crowd to begin with, just to add something to this. We saw AEW do that. That was very smart. But regardless, the Kabuki Warriors were defending their titles against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. My prediction before this match had begun was that Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross were going to win the tag team titles. Believe it or not, this was actually a hard-hitting match. There were decent spots throughout, so I don't think that this match was as awful as a lot of people think. Cross had to battle her way through late to a double team that included Asuka and Kairi Sane, were both hitting combinations on her, a powerbomb and a diving forearm. She then did get the tag to Alexa Bliss towards the end. Bliss hit a second. She had a couple of twisted Blisses in this match. She hit her second one. She did pin Kairi Sane, and they won the women's tag team titles in the process. I actually kind of forgot about this. This is their second time holding the SmackDown Women's Championship, and I think that is not bad, because I kind of did predict for Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross to win these SmackDown tag team titles. especially over them. Again, the match wasn't awful from my standpoint, but again, I just don't think it was a match that should have opened the show. But it was Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross winning the SmackDown Women's Tag Team titles. And you can say what you want about both of them. I think that they're a nice little team. They're a little bit annoying at times, but that's just kind of where it goes. Now, I thought maybe after that, we were going to get a match that would kind of just bring us a little bit more joy. But again, they elected to do one of the 4 or 5 matches on this card that didn't really have any type of substance to it. And that was King Corbin versus Elias. Now, I did predict for Rob Gronkowski to actually get involved in this. That didn't happen. We saw him, and let's add this to another thing too. Rob Gronkowski being the host of WrestleMania was absolutely useless. They showed him in like 2-3 segments. It was not good. It was useless. There was no point to it. So again, that was a waste. And I know how could you really be a host of a grand event when there's no crowd? But that was really useless. King Corbin and Elias. Corbin came out to the ring first, and he demanded he be declared winner by forfeit. We were expecting Elias to not show up in this match because of the beatdown he took on SmackDown and falling off of that pillar. Shockingly, Elias did make his way to the ring, and he blasted him with his guitar. Before he even made his way to the ring, Corbin got nailed with Elias's guitar. Corbin rallied, though. He was laying a beating on Elias while demanding Michael Cole and JBL on commentary acknowledge how good he has been doing. Corbin attempted to use the ropes for leverage on a late pin. Didn't work. He got caught by the referee in the process. As he protested, Elias did a nice roll-up. He held the tights down to get the win. Elias would squeeze the win over Baron Corbin. This match was nothing special. This match probably was one of the 3 or 4 matches that went exactly how you thought it was going to be. I did not think Elias was going to get a clean... I mean, it was clean, but I didn't think Elias was going to get a full-on pin over Baron Corbin. So that was kind of just one of my things on that. Elias wins, is what it was. Doesn't really matter to anybody, really, to be honest. It was just a match that was there. A match that really, when it was going to get started, I thought was going to be a brawl. And it was to an extent, but this match was severely, severely underwhelming. And it was the Raw Women's Championship. Becky Lynch retained her Raw Women's Championship over Shayna Baszler. This match had potential to be one of the best on the show, and it was absolutely terrible. I'm not going to say it's the worst thing I've ever seen, because that is not true. But this match had potential to be so much more. And to have a match like this end with a roll-up, a match to me like this should have ended with somebody... This could have been a last woman standing match. I think that was something that they could have did. Now, they had the Edge and Randy Orton one. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. But Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler. This match was sort of how you expected it, but the ending was very anticlimactic. It was a match with heavy strikes and submission attempts. It felt like more of a fight, and that's kind of what I thought it was going to be going into it. When it comes to that's where Shayna Baszler has the advantage because she has that fighting background. She spent much of the time taking heavy offense to the champion. Lynch was forced to repeatedly counter Baszler's attempts to lock in the Kirifuda clutch. In the end, though, it was one of the counters that scored Lynch the victory, bringing back what CBS says on here, a classic finish between Bret Hart and Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 9. I did not think that the ending to this match was anything of importance. And I honestly think that if this is what they're going to present us from the match's standpoint on this, I didn't even think this match needed to happen, to be honest. I was really looking forward to this match, and this was probably one of the more disappointing matches of the night. The ending was terrible. We did have a nice point here where Shayna Baszler picked up Becky Lynch and whipped her into the WrestleMania announce table. That was nice. Again, Baszler, you've had her come up to looking so strong, and now you have her losing her first shot at a title on WrestleMania. That was just another miss, and hopefully it does not put Shayna Baszler into that category that so many other NXT superstars fall in, and non-importance, because Shayna Baszler is just way too important. But Becky Lynch does retain the title over Shayna Baszler, and that was that. The next match was the Intercontinental Championship match between Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan. Now, to be honest with you, this was a good match, but I feel like when I watch matches like these, where they have potential 5-star classic written all over them, I feel like this match could have been a lot better. And that's not me being critical of it, that's just me nitpicking. You have 2 very talented guys in the ring. We already know what Daniel Bryan's about, and Sami Zayn, who has been completely underutilized and had a history of unfortunate injuries and what have you. But the story of this match between Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan was pretty much Zayn begging Drew Gulak to let him go. avoiding contact at all costs. Bryan was eventually able to trick Zayn into a wrestling match. He almost entirely dominated. Zayn begged Bryan to stop before Nakamura and Cesaro caused a distraction. After Bryan hit Nakamura and Cesaro with a suicide dive, he went to the top rope, but he was caught by a Helluva Kick from Zayn. This was actually a nice ending to the Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan match right here. Again, this match was okay, but I thought, especially for two guys like that, it could have been a lot more. But again, that's just kind of just me nitpicking to an extent. But the Helluva Kick off the top rope was really cool. I like that, and it showed Sami Zayn did retain the Intercontinental Championship. And again, they noticed, they make note of here on CBS Sports that they weren't able to go out and put on a match they were capable of with elite skills. Regardless of if they did or not, there's no crowd there to see it. And again, there were a numerous amount of moments on this show that could have been so beneficial if a crowd had been in front of them. We saw the Otis and Ziggler thing, which was night number 2. I'll get to that shortly. How that ended would have been great in front of a crowd. The next match, which I'll go over, would have been great in front of a crowd. And again, it's just, I don't know why they went on with the show. I really don't. The next match was, to me, the first match that captured a lot of people's attention and hopefully was going to be a momentum shifter for WrestleMania going forward. It was the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Now, we knew from the dirt sheets and all of the news previously that The Miz was actually was sick. And The Miz being sick is actually what caused him to not be in this match, as well as Jey Uso was not in this match either. So I kind of give them a little bit of props for how they played this out because they were kind of smart with it. It was originally rumored to be a handicap match for the SmackDown Tag titles, which I don't know how the hell you could do that. But they ended up being a triple threat ladder match, one-on-one-on-one. So it was John Morrison, who was representing Miz and Morrison with the titles, versus Kofi Kingston versus Jimmy Uso. And this was maybe the best in-ring match. It was the best in-ring match, I think, of the first night. Now, the best match overall was the Boneyard match. We're going to get to that in a minute as well. We are almost done with night number 1 here. Got a couple more matches to go. But the SmackDown Tag Team Championships Triple Threat Ladder match, I actually really like this match. I think that if a crowd had seen this match, it could have been one of the best matches of the show. But that's kind of what hurt it again. There was a strong chance for disappointment, but all 3 men actually went at a very good pace in this match, and it was very interesting. There were big bumps on display, dumped onto ladders, and all of that. Morrison hit a nice parkour move from the top of the ring post onto Uso, who was elevated ladder between the turnbuckles. The ending of this match came when all 3 men were holding the title inside of the ring. And again, this is one of those endings where it's like, okay. Again, some people were like, well, I don't know if I would have did that ending. But I think it adds to it because it shows that Morrison won the match. But some people will say it was because of luck. All 3 men were grabbing for the title on the ladder, which was towards the hanging obviously from the top, and the championship fell, and Kofi Kingston and Jimmy Uso were still there, and John Morrison was on the ground, so John Morrison fell. He actually got knocked off the top of the ladder, so it actually came to his advantage, and he pulled the belt with him to earn the victory. John Morrison and The Miz, who was not present in this match, retained. This was a good ladder match. If there were one of the matches from night number 1 that I would personally say to go back and watch, it would probably be this one. I thought that Morrison retaining was definitely the right move to make, and that is kind of just what they went with. After that, this was a bathroom break, and thank God, because I missed absolutely nothing. The 24/7 championship. Rob Gronkowski and Mojo Rawley, we knew they're buddies. We're midway through the show. R-Truth hopped into the frame. Gronk tried to punch him and pin Truth, but Rawley pulled off the former Patriot star, got 3. Rawley defeated R-Truth and Gronkowski to win the title. Nobody cares. We just don't care. Okay? And there's a good thing I went to the bathroom because that was probably the most meaningless point of the whole entire show up to that point. Second to last match. If I am correct, I believe, let me just double check this here. I'm pretty sure it was. No, it was not the second to last match. I'm full of shit. This match, I like this match, actually. This was one of my favorite matches of the show, actually. And going into this, we've seen these guys wrestle so many times, so I wasn't really so much invested into what they were going to bring. But Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins actually put on a really good match at WrestleMania. And one of the key moments of this match was Kevin Owens jumping off the WrestleMania sign. This feud has been built since the beginning of Father Time. I think that this feud really got sparked right before, or right after, or right near Survivor Series. Rollins took over the early part of this match with a cheap shot before the two battled back and forth with tons of counters and reversals that would have excited the crowd, but again, nobody was there to see it. Rollins was looking for an easy way out. He used the ring bell to hit Owens. He led the referee to call the match off. Now, at this point in the match, I was like, all right, well, this is kind of cheap. This match was actually 2 matches, and it got changed to a no disqualification match going forward. Again, Rollins was looking for an easy way out. He used the ring bell. Owens won by DQ. Owens then called Rollins out, saying he didn't get to end things so easily and demanding they continue with no DQs. Rollins agreed. They went back to it. They continued the attack, taunting, "You said you wanted a WrestleMania moment." Owens eventually used the same ring bell to take over the match before diving off the WrestleMania sign. Now, the WrestleMania sign was perched up probably about 15 to 20 feet in the air, I would say, by the stage. I do respect them for putting the WrestleMania sign there. Again, this would never have happened if it was a stadium, because the WrestleMania sign is probably about 50 plus feet up in the air, maybe even 100. That would never happen. That would never happen. Okay, so because Owens would have actually died. Now, Owens does do these spots quite often, and I think that Owens does execute them very well, but he jumped off the WrestleMania sign, drive Rollins through the announce table with a senton. After that, it only took Owens a moment to drag Rollins to the ring. He hit a nice stunner to pick up the victory, and Kevin Owens would get the win over Seth Rollins. Now, again, I think the crowd would have added a lot more to this match. There was a lot of trash talking. And one of the things that I think that I got to give WWE credit for capitalizing on, you hear it from a crowd, not a crowd standpoint. You hear it when you're on TV sometimes. But the amount of trash talking that is able to initiate, especially in the ring, because in an event like WrestleMania, 90% of the time, probably 99% of the time, the crowd does not hear anything that happens because they're so invested and there's so many people. You know, you have 70,000 plus people all in the same situation, and that was kind of just that. But Owens would get the win. Universal Championship match. Mother of God. Mother of God. This was absolutely terrible. This was absolutely terrible. Okay? The worst, it was bad enough that Braun Strowman was the replacement for Roman Reigns in this Universal title match. But what made it even worse was that he actually won. Braun Strowman, who has not had any relevance in WWE since 2018, won the Universal title against Goldberg. So, for those of you that don't know, Goldberg was brought back to set up... Okay, so here's what happened. Bray Wyatt has this phenomenal character. The character is still great, by the way. Thank God, because I thought for a minute, I was scared that it was gonna look like he was buried after his loss to Goldberg at Super Showdown. They did that to give it to Goldberg, to have Roman Reigns beat Goldberg, okay? And that failed. So now they put Braun Strowman into this, and this match went exactly how anybody would ever expect it to go. It was as expected. A crowd would have been nice into it, but again, who cares? Goldberg hit 4 spears. He had an attempt at a jackhammer. He could barely get a jackhammer on Bray Wyatt, and I'm not saying that to belittle him because I couldn't do it, but he couldn't even get that. Goldberg hit 4 spears, went for the jackhammer. He countered it into a power slam. Strowman would hit another 3 power slams and score the pin in a very flat sprint. Braun Strowman wins the Universal Championship. Completely irrelevant. Not necessary. Again, I don't know what they do going forward, because I feel like they are booked themselves into a feud that no one's going to care about. I don't know if Braun Strowman can wrestle in the ring with anybody and have me care about it. He did have a nice feud with Roman Reigns a while back, but how long ago was that? Night number 1. Night number 1 concluded with an absolute fantastic match. Not only was the match fantastic, it was executed in cinema-like fashion, and it was absolutely beautiful. The Undertaker versus AJ Styles in a Boneyard match. This match actually went exactly how I thought it was going to be. We saw AJ Styles come to the ring in a hearse and come out of a casket, and we saw Undertaker take a chopper to some Metallica music and make his way to the ring in this. Nice entrance. Undertaker arrived in the match, motorcycle, Metallica playing over the video. The match turned into a brawl real quick that ranged from the graveyard to a barn to the barn's rooftop to Taker battling Styles. Eventually, the OC would get involved. They were these hooded druids at one point. Styles had Taker in an open grave before Taker somehow materialized behind him. So Styles was on a tractor getting ready to dump the dirt onto the Undertaker. And the Undertaker did one of those cinematic-like things where he appeared right behind him. He brutalized Styles before throwing him off the barn roof. Styles attempted to apologize, and he begged Undertaker, "Do not bury me." Taker said he wouldn't because of the fight Styles had put up, before kicking him into the grave and using a tractor to fill the grave, and Undertaker would win the Boneyard match. This was really, really cool. This was very entertaining, and I think that they hit an A+ on this. CBS Sports gives it an A. I give it an A+. I thought that this was great, and having this type of match helped because Undertaker didn't need to be in a wrestling-like capacity, if you know what I mean. And the ending was great because Styles was begging him not to, and he said, "You put up a great fight." Everything about this main event of night number 1 was fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, we are actually at the 20-minute mark, and we're only halfway done. I'm going to take a nice little sip of some Dr. Pepper right here. Kicked off with a fantastic match. With an awful ending. Night number 2 kicks off. Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's Championship. These women battled, and I believe somebody timed this. They went almost 30 minutes in this match. This was great. I loved it. What I didn't like was Charlotte Flair winning because it didn't need to happen. First match of the night, delivered in a big way. The women battled for almost 30 minutes with convincing near falls throughout for both. Rhea hit a riptide very early in the match, but we knew that wasn't going to be it. Imagine if Rhea had buried Charlotte on Wrestlemania stage. Nah, that won't happen. Allowing Flair to storm back with an all-out attack on the champion's leg. Ripley fought off Flair's trademark figure 8 multiple times throughout the bout. Storming back again and again, Ripley also locked Flair into an inverted standing cloverleaf submission, but was unable to get the tap out. Finally, the accumulated damage to Rhea Ripley's leg had caught up to her. Flair was able to lock in his submission. Rhea Ripley hung on for quite a while in the figure 8 here. Again, they brought her back into the ring. Charlotte continued to apply pressure, and eventually Rhea Ripley tapped out, and Charlotte won the NXT Women's Championship. This was a great match, and I think that this would have gone over very well into a crowd. Again, Charlotte Flair winning it definitely didn't need to happen, but it happened, and that's just, it is what it is, I guess, at this point, right? The second match of the night went, you know what, and CBS gave this match a B-, because to be honest with you, I don't think it was great, but I don't think anything happened in this match that was absolutely terrible. Like, I can't sit here and tell you, wow, this was absolutely terrible. Aleister Black and Bobby Lashley, no feud, no story, nothing behind this. But it got Aleister Black onto the card, and we know Aleister Black deserves a lot better. But anyway, they also mentioned on here it had the misfortune of following that opening match, because we knew that it was going to be very few matches that were going to top that. The two men put a solid effort. Black struggled with Lashley's power early, taking a belly suplex on the outside. Black eventually took over with a striking game. After Lana convinced Lashley to stop trying to tire out Black and instead finish him, Lashley ran in for a spear. Black countered it with a Black Mass to get the win. Aleister Black beats Bobby Lashley. It came and it went, and it was just there. The next match actually had some build to it that we wanted to see actually win. The ending of this the match itself was kind of irrelevant, but the fact of what happened after the match, people actually enjoyed. And I think that I was one of those people that enjoyed it as well. Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. A lot of people will say this suffered a bit in feeling like it was paced for a live audience. Ziggler chinlock early, dragged on because there was no crowd to drive the rally. Sonya Deville was in Ziggler's corner after the duo was outed as being responsible for ruining Otis' Valentine's Day date with Mandy Rose. Deville interfered late. She was distracted. The referee and allowed Ziggler to hit a low blow on Otis. Was countered when Mandy Rose's music hit, and she ran in to deliver a slap to Deville and a low blow to Ziggler. With Ziggler down, Otis hit the Caterpillar for the 3 count. As he celebrated, Mandy Rose jumped into Otis's arms, carried her to the back, a nice kissing moment, and this was great. The ending was great. The match was not relevant. Otis defeats Dolph Ziggler in a singles match, and it was what it was. This next match, I have to be critical of this match. I have to. Because Randy Orton and Edge had a last man standing match that I felt the way it started was great, but I felt the way that it ended was also great. But I felt like it was so typical. Like, it felt like, I know last man standing matches are supposed to be longer and it's not supposed to be high spots. I understand that. But it felt like this went on and it just went on, and it was punch kick, new area, punch kick, new area. It felt so slow. Slower than a normal last man standing match. The way that this started was great. Edge and Orton did brawl through the entire performance center throughout the match. Orton attacked Edge with an RKO before it even started. He was posing as a cameraman. Took his hood off and came with RKO. I thought it was great. I actually thought for a minute, I said, I don't think it would happen. But imagine if WWE had Edge actually lose in about less than 5 minutes to Randy Orton in a last man standing match. The match, like I said, it mainly evolved around punches and kicks, with both men being thrown into various equipment in the gym, office, and storage area. One signature spot from Edge was an elbow drop hanging from the ceiling of the conference room. I like that. When Edge continued to rise from the attacks of Orton, the two ended up on the top of a semi-truck. Orton was ready to hit a con chair to calling back to the attack on Raw after the Royal Rumble. Edge avoided the chair, locking Orton in an arm triangle choke, wrapping up the win. He stopped the referee from making the count, however, before delivering a con chair to himself. An emotional Edge picked up his first win in a singles match since his return. Randy Orton was lying on the semi-truck. He had his his head on top of the steel chair, and Randy Orton did exactly what, or Edge did to Randy Orton, what Randy Orton did to Edge just about a month or so back on Monday Night Raw when he smashed him with the chair. Once he had him down there, he smashed him with the chair, and Edge was able to get the win. I understood the violence aspect from the match was great. It was a nice finish, but it felt like it was. I don't know what it was, because CBS Sports says here was ambitious in scope and its length to deliver was what was promised, leading to a strong level of disappointment. I felt like the match was way too long. They capitalized on a lot of good things in the match, but I felt like at the same time, to me, the match was just a little bit too long. Edge and Orton in a last man standing match. Now, I don't think that it was awful, because a lot of people were like that, but I just felt that it went on just a little bit too long. And some of the things they did, I did really enjoy the ending, and I will say it was a good match, but it's from that standpoint that really bothered me. Gronkowski actually wins the 24/7 championship in between this next match. Don't care, by the way. Raw tag team titles on the line, the Street Profits against Angel Garza and Austin Theory, also known as a young John Cena. The match was actually fairly short for this Raw tag team titles, and expected to. After the length of Orton and Edge, I didn't want to sit through another 20 minutes. Theory had Angelo Dawkins down after a TKO and was looking for the pin when Montez Ford came off the top rope with a frog splash. It allowed Dawkins to roll over and score the pinfall. Theory and Garza attacked the champs after the match, with Zelina Vega joining in on the beating. At the moment, Bianca Belair, I actually really like this part. Bianca Belair came out. For those of you that don't know, she is married to Montez Ford of the Street Profits. Bianca Belair came out. I love this, actually. I'm a big fan of Bianca Belair. She was laying a beating on Vega in the process. This was solid enough for a short title match, but the Belair involvement sets up more interesting things in coming weeks. And again, that's my question, coming weeks. From what we know, Raw and SmackDown are taped. Raw and SmackDown are taped for this week. So tonight's Raw is already taped. SmackDown's already taped. They advertised Money in the Bank for May 10th. I don't know what they're planning for that, because I don't know where this whole situation will be at that point. Hopefully May will be where it starts to settle down, but I think it's going to be a very rough April with this virus. But the Street Profits defeat Gaze and Ours to retain the titles. It was what it was. I liked what happened after the match. If I'm correct, we got 3 matches to go, and this is where it gets really weird. Not so much here. 5-woman elimination match. SmackDown Women's Championship. It was your champion Bayley taking on Sasha, Lacey Evans, Tamina, and Naomi. Early in the match, all 4 of these women tried to take out Tamina, looking to eliminate the powerhouse. Despite strong efforts from Tamina, the women actually piled on top of her to score their first elimination. Tamina was eliminated rather quickly. The women, like I said, Naomi was the next woman out when the numbers came out. Bayley and Banks caught up with her. The final 3 was Evans, Bayley, and Banks. This actually went rather quick. Evans managed to battle through the double team efforts to eliminate Banks with a women's right. I did not like this. I thought that they should have had Sasha Banks didn't need to win. Bayley didn't need to win either. But, I actually predicted Bayley to win. I thought that would have been the right move. to have Bayley win in this particular situation. Now, for me, I was happy that Bayley won this match, but I think that there should have been some kind of heat or something developed in between Sasha and Bayley, which could have set up a feud for them at SummerSlam, hopefully giving Sasha Banks the title at that point. Banks still helped her friend in the end. Running back to the match, the backstabber set up Evans for the pin, allowing Bayley to retain the title. The match was as good as it could have been expected from the grouping. Placement on the card, between the most hyped matches on the card. To be honest, this match was alright. It was what it was. I'm not going to shit on it. Bayley retains her SmackDown Women's Championship. I thought it was good. I don't think it was amazing, but I thought it was good. And that's kind of just where I'm at with this. Now, the final two matches of WrestleMania were what the fuck. This next match was one of the most odd things I've ever seen as a wrestling fan. CBS Sports is giving it an A+. This was very odd, very different, and very out there. Whoever was responsible for the Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse match from a writing creative standpoint, you are absolutely an incredible human being. John Cena versus The Fiend in a Firefly Funhouse match. I'm going to go through pros and cons of this. I'm going to read exactly what CBS Sports says here. They said this match is impossible to do justice in writing. Rather than any sort of wrestling contest, even in the context of Night's one Boneyard match, it was a wide awake for nightmare for Cena. It was a cinematic experience that showed Bray Wyatt being engaged with John Cena from different standpoints of his career. One of the first things we saw early in this match was John Cena in a cinematic performance coming out to the ring in his damn debut gear from 2002. The two journeyed through various points in wrestling history and eras of Cena's career after Wyatt made his point to Cena. That the legend had been a privileged bully who was given endless opportunities in his career while Wyatt had to work for everything he had accomplished. The Fiend appeared behind Cena, putting him in a mandible claw. The Fiend drove Cena to the mat with a hold, and Wyatt's other character made the 3 count for the win. There is no fair way to write about this match. This is just something that you're going to have to go back and watch, because this was very, very out there, different, and it was very creative. And their creativity on this is an absolute A+ with flying colors. As stated, there's no way of doing it, but basically what happened at the end was the Fiend hit the Sister Abigail to give the win. So the Fiend beat John Cena, but this wasn't really a wrestling match. Now, before going into this review, I was kind of sitting here from the standpoint of, well, maybe I was going to be negative about it because I would have liked to have seen some wrestling. But after respecting everything that they did in this little segment, I can't, because this was just unbelievable. It was one of those things to me where I was like, wow, this is really cool and really different. The Fiend beats John Cena. A Firefly Funhouse match. Again, whoever wrote this, I don't know what writer did, but whoever wrote this, you deserve a golden star, because this was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Your main event of WrestleMania, we have come to it. Right winner, the match itself was okay. I didn't expect Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar to go on to some crazy type of sort of amazing match, but I felt like this was good, bad, and ugly because Mr. McIntyre won the WWE title in front of nobody. Poor guy. This match was as short and hard-hitting as expected, though. McIntyre hit a very early Claymore for a near fall. Lesnar roared back with an F5. McIntyre kicked out of the F5 at 1. After a second, he kicked out at 2. And again, after a third, Lesnar got no more than a 2 count. His advocate, Paul Heyman, implored Lesnar to continue hitting the move, saying he can't keep kicking out. Lesnar lifted McIntyre again. The challenger slid from Lesnar's shoulders and blasted the champ with a Claymore. After 2 more, Lesnar was down and out. It allowed McIntyre to score the pinfall and become the new WWE champion. The moment lacked the punch of triumph in front of tens of thousands of fans, but anytime Lesnar goes down clean, it feels like a meaningful piece of modern history. And McIntyre now has the opportunity to be the man. After his lengthy journey to the top, Drew McIntyre wins the WWE title over Brock Lesnar, and that is that. WrestleMania was, it was just a giant cluster. Like, it was all over the place, and I felt like, I don't think it was a bad show, but it was very all over the place. The Firefly Funhouse, whoever wrote that deserves a golden star, because that was just so creative and different. The main event was nothing special, but it was great to see Drew McIntyre win the title, and then I believe afterwards he looked into the camera and said thank you. So you don't see too many real genuine moments like that on wrestling television, and it was great to see that. I hope everybody enjoyed this review. This is officially my longest review I have ever done at 34 minutes. We're going to try to do some creative and different things throughout the week. Hope everybody stays safe.